Why does life feel so hard? Not in the dramatic moments, those almost make sense, but in the ordinary ones, the Tuesday afternoons, the endless small tasks, the simple act of getting through another day that somehow takes everything you have. Why does it feel like everyone else received a manual you never got? Like they moved through life with an ease that was never available to you? Like you are swimming against a current that never, ever stops? You have asked yourself this, maybe not in these words, but in the exhaustion you feel for no clear reason, in the sense that you are working so hard just to stay in place, in the quiet question that rises when you finally lie down at night. Why is it all so heavy? Paramahansa Yogananda was asked this question many times, and his answer surprised people, because he did not say what they expected. He did not tell them to try harder or to fix their circumstances or to think more positively. He told them a secret about why life feels hard that almost no one understands. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It changes how you meet every moment. Today, I am going to share that secret with you. Stay with me to the end, because the heart of it comes in layers, and the deepest layer is the one that sets you free. Let's start with the answers most people believe. When life feels hard, we usually reach for explanations. The first explanation is circumstances. Life is hard because of my job, my finances, my relationship, my health, my past. If these things were different, life would be easier. There is some truth here. Circumstances matter, but Yogananda noticed something strange. He saw people with terrible circumstances who carried an inner lightness, and he saw people with wonderful circumstances who were crushed by an invisible weight. If circumstances were the cause, this would be impossible. The second explanation is personal failure. Life is hard because something is wrong with me. I am not strong enough, smart enough, disciplined enough. Other people can handle this. I cannot. The heaviness is proof of my inadequacy. This explanation is the most painful and the most false. Yogananda taught that the feeling of life being hard has nothing to do with your worth or your strength. Many of the strongest souls feel it most acutely, precisely because they are sensitive to something others ignore. The third explanation is simply that life is hard. That's just how it is. Suffering is the nature of existence. Lower your expectations and endure. This explanation sounds wise. It sounds mature. But Yogananda rejected it. He said life is not inherently heavy. The heaviness is added, and what is added can be removed. So if it is not only circumstances, not personal failure, and not the unchangeable nature of life, what is it? Here is where Yogananda's secret begins. He taught that the heaviness you feel does not come primarily from life itself. It comes from your resistance to life. Read that again. The weight is not in the experience. The weight is in the fighting of the experience. Think about it this way. A task itself has a certain weight, but when you dread it, resent it, wish it were different, and brace against it, you add a second weight on top. The mental and emotional resistance often weighs more than the task itself. You are not just living your life. You are simultaneously arguing with it. Every moment, a part of you is saying, this should not be happening. This should be different. This should be easier. I should be somewhere else. This is unfair. That argument never stops, and the argument is exhausting. It runs in the background of every experience, draining energy you don't even know you're spending. Yogananda said most people live their entire lives in this state of low-grade resistance. They wake up resisting waking. They work resisting work. They rest resisting rest, unable to truly relax because part of them is still fighting. The cumulative weight of all this resistance is what makes life feel so impossibly hard. The experience is one thing. The resistance to the experience is another. And the resistance is where almost all the suffering lives. Now you might be thinking, of course I resist. Some things should be resisted. Some things are genuinely bad. Yogananda made an important distinction here, and this is the next layer of the secret. There is a difference between action and resistance. Action is responding to what is. Resistance is refusing what is. They feel similar, but they are opposite. If something in your life needs to change, you can take action to change it. Action is clean. It flows from acceptance of reality. I see what is, and I move to respond. Resistance is different. Resistance is the inner refusal to accept that this is happening at all. It does not lead to action. It leads to suffering. You can resist something for years and never act on it. The resistance just sits there, generating heaviness while nothing changes. Here is the strange truth Yogananda pointed to. Resistance actually blocks effective action. When you are consumed with fighting the fact that something is happening, you have no energy left to actually deal with it. The resistance eats the energy you would need to respond. This is why some people seem to handle enormous difficulty with grace. They are not resisting. They accept what is fully, and then they act from that acceptance. Their energy goes into response, not into the exhausting argument with reality. And this is why some people are crushed by relatively small things. They are not crushed by the thing itself. They are crushed by their resistance to it. The mountain is not the problem. The refusal to climb is the problem. Now we go deeper, because you might ask, why do I resist so much? If resistance causes the suffering, why can't I just stop? This is the deepest layer of Yogananda's secret. He taught that resistance comes from a fundamental misunderstanding about who you are. You believe you are a separate small self, alone in a vast and often hostile universe. From this belief, resistance is inevitable. If you are a small, fragile being surrounded by forces that could harm you at any moment, of course you brace, of course you fight, of course life feels like a constant threat to be managed. This belief in separation is the root, and from this root grows all the resistance, all the bracing, all the heaviness. Yogananda taught that this belief, while it feels absolutely real, is not the truth. The truth is that you are not separate. You are an expression of the same infinite intelligence that moves the stars, grows the trees, and beats your heart without your effort. When you remember this, even for a moment, the resistance softens. Because you realize you are not alone, fighting against the universe. You are held by it. You are part of it. The current you have been swimming against was never your enemy. It was carrying you all along if you would stop fighting it. This is the heart of the secret. Life feels hard because you are fighting it. You are fighting it because you feel separate and unsupported. And you feel separate because you have forgotten your true nature. The heaviness is not your circumstances. It is not your weakness. It is the friction of swimming against a river that was always flowing toward your good. So what do you do with this? How do you actually live it? Yogananda did not just offer philosophy. He offered a way to live differently. Here is the essence. The shift begins with acceptance. Not approval, acceptance. Acceptance does not mean you like what is happening. It does not mean you stop trying to improve your life. It means you stop arguing with the fact that this moment is what it is. When something difficult arises, instead of the automatic inner refusal, this shouldn't be happening, you practice a different response. This is happening. I am here. What does this moment ask of me? That single shift removes the second weight. The task remains, the resistance dissolves, and suddenly you have energy you did not have before because it is no longer being consumed by the argument. The next part is trust. Yogananda taught that beneath the surface of events, there is an intelligence at work. Even in difficulty, even in what seems like chaos, something is unfolding that you cannot fully see. When you trust this, not naively but deeply, you stop bracing against life as if it were your enemy. You begin to ask, in hard moments, what is this here to teach me? What is trying to happen through this? This question alone transforms the heaviness because it changes you from a victim of life into a participant in something meaningful. And the deepest part is remembering. The resistance comes from forgetting who you are, so the cure is remembering. This is why Yogananda placed meditation at the center of his teaching, not as a technique to relax, but as a way to remember your connection to the infinite. In stillness, even briefly, you touch the truth beneath the separate self. You feel, for a moment, that you are held, that you are not alone, that the universe is not against you. And from that remembering, the resistance naturally loosens. You cannot force yourself to stop resisting, but you can remember what makes resistance unnecessary. Here is a simple practice to begin. The next time life feels heavy, pause, place your hand on your chest, take 3 slow breaths. Then say to yourself silently, I stop fighting this moment. I accept that this is what is. I am not alone in it. I am held by something larger than my small self. Show me what this moment asks of me. Then notice. Often, the heaviness lessens immediately, not because the situation changed, but because you put down the second weight. You stop the argument, and in the space that opens, you can finally see clearly what to actually do. Practice this again and again. Each time, you train yourself to meet life instead of fighting it. Over time, the chronic exhaustion of resistance begins to lift. Life does not necessarily become easy, but it stops being so impossibly hard because you are no longer adding weight to every moment. What changes when you stop resisting? At first, you will catch yourself resisting constantly. You did not realize how much of your energy went into the silent argument with reality. This awareness alone is a beginning. As you practice acceptance, you will notice a strange lightness in ordinary moments. The same tasks that drained you become manageable, not because they changed, but because you stopped fighting them. Your difficult emotions will move faster. When you stop resisting sadness, it flows through and releases. When you stop resisting fear, it loses its grip. The resistance was what kept the emotions stuck, and the deepest change is a growing sense of being carried. You begin to feel more and more that you are not alone in a hostile universe, that something larger is with you, in you, moving through you. The fundamental loneliness that drove all your resistance begins to heal. Yogananda's final teaching on this was simple, and I want you to take it with you. He said, "You think life is hard because of what you must carry, but most of the weight is not the burden. It is your resistance to the burden. Lay down the resistance, and you will be amazed how much you can carry with joy." Life was never meant to be a battle against an indifferent universe. It was meant to be a dance with an intelligence far greater than your own. The heaviness you feel is the sensation of dancing against the music instead of with it. Stop fighting the current. It was always carrying you home. This is the secret. Not that life will become easy, but that the hardest part of hard was always the fighting. And the fighting can stop the moment you remember you were never alone. If this teaching touched something in you, subscribe and turn on notifications. More of Yogananda's wisdom on living with peace and depth is coming. Share this video with someone who is finding life heavy right now. Sometimes the right words lighten a burden no one else could see. And leave a comment. What is one thing you have been resisting that you are ready to accept? Naming it is the first step to laying it down. See you in the next one.